Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Meraj Kidwai. Thank you so much for stopping by to this YouTube channel. To know more about me, please check out vertexsolution.com. Today, I'm going to lecture on literary themes, and it's just not an academic lecture, but people of any age group are more than welcome to listen to this beautiful topic that I'm going to talk on to. It's going to build critical thinking, analytical thinking, as well as building intellectual capacities to question. So, critical thinking or analytical thinking, why it's important? It's important so that you can develop reasoning, you can develop questioning, you can develop ideas and innovative mindset you should have, and a vision of, developing new concepts and ideas. So, literary is connected with literature, okay, and it's a fusion of psychology, philosophy, and literature. So what is literature? How do you understand literature? Literature is a form of expression of your ideas, your thoughts, or your concepts, your emotions. And expression is distinguished with communications. We communicate certainly on everyday basis. We communicate with our friends, we communicate with our family, we communicate within our professional sphere of life. But how often we express ourselves? So there's a huge difference between expression and communication. You express when you have an emotion, for example, love, for example, anger, for example, hatred, for example, sacrifice, or you express when you question something. So when you question, you express your vision, you express your concepts, you express your ideas, and you want a foundation of answers that you look for. And this is what literature builds you up with strong self-esteem and confidence. And that's how you reflect it in your communications as well. So literary theme is the central idea. It's the concept on which a work is based on by the authors. Let's explore more onto it. So what are the objectives? Why we are doing this? Why we should learn about literary themes? When you learn about literary themes, you're able to differentiate a piece of literature, a piece of literary work, on the basis of what it is based on and what it is trying to express, what are the thoughts of the work, and the elements. So it's important to distinguish the elements of the work when you're examining it. So you need to understand the theme because you're reading it, you're analyzing it, and you're examining it. That's how it builds you up. That's how it builds up a thought process. That's how it builds up a vision. That's how it asks questions from you as a reader also, or as a viewer also. So you identify the elements and you distinguish the element with the concept of that work. So this lecture is going to enlighten you how you can differentiate both. You're able to understand in which context the work is placed for examination, how you can connect emotionally and intellectually, and how you can present your ideas on the basis of what you have analyzed or examined. So it's going to cover every part of it. Let's read more about this. So how can we understand the definition? How can we define literary theme? So, to understand literary theme, we need to understand motive. What is it? What is the context of this particular word for literary themes? We can define motive with idea, concept, expression. An author chooses to talk about in the piece of his or her work. So it's quite symbolic in nature. Okay? And it contributes to the overall meaning of the work. They can be in patterns, okay? Imagery, elements, narrative elements, symbols, right? So it helps us convey what we are reading, what we are examining or analyzing in general. So motive is extremely important to understand the layers of literary themes. So how can we define literary themes? We can define literary theme as the heartbeat of a story, the pulse that resonates with our own experiences and emotions, and sometimes the expressions of the experiences and emotions viewed by someone else's eyes or felt of someone else's experiences and emotions through our expressions. So it's the hidden melody that plays beneath the words, weaving together the characters and plot to create a rich and meaningful narrative. That is what literary themes. So think of themes as the soul of literature, right? They on which, as I just said earlier, on which a piece of work, a literary work, is based on, offering profound insights on the human condition. They are like the threads that connects us to the story on a deeper level and the layers between the story. How we can interpret those layers, how we can analyze the actions of the characters, the emotions and the tone and texture of the story with context to the theme or the idea or the concept it's written on. So authors craft themes not just to tell a story, but to spark a conversation with their readers. It is an invitation to explore the nuances of love, power, justice, and identity. Themes provide a common ground, a shared language through which we can decipher the mysteries of the narrative and in turn our own lives. We build and develop questioning and we explore questioning with each other based on these literary themes and the piece of work the authors or the writers produce. And that's how you develop critical thinking and analytical thinking. And you build reasoning and you question. When you explore, you build intellectual capacities, and that's how the conversations are developed. That's how bonds are developed, that's how relationships are developed, that's how a society is framed or the social structure stands. So these literary themes, I can define them as the smallest unit of building the capacity of questioning, right? So that's how I defined literary themes. Now, there are examples of literary themes. There are many examples. Okay, good versus evil, or individual versus society, pursuit of happiness, nature versus nurture, power and corruption, war, isolation, identity, discovery, heroism. So there are many themes the writer or an author choose to write on, which, you know, brush the writer's um, knowledge and scratches the curiosity to question the society and what people think and starts a conversation with them. So, how theme and meaning can be understood here? Theme in literature is the elements, okay, of the story, or I would say the central idea or concept with respect to characters, with respect to the plot, with respect to the context on which it is written. Okay, it can be universal aspect of the human experience. Okay, and meaning is the interpretation of those theme, characters, symbols, and everything related with the literary work. Now, I'm going to create an example here to make you understand with an example rather than just, defining it with elaboration of words. Now, if you take the example of nature of reality. So, this theme, nature of reality, is a philosophical and metaphysical exploration into the fundamental questions surrounding existence, perception, and nature of the world. So, how this connects to the readers? It connects to the readers to question what is real, challenging conventional notions, and exploring the blurred lines between the reality and what is illusion, right? So, literature frequently examines the contrast between what appears to be real and what might be illusionary. So, characters may navigate worlds where the boundaries between reality and fantasy are ambiguous, prompting readers to question the nature of their own perception. So, you can say reality versus illusion in a way, right? That what is reality and what is illusion. So, this theme propagates uh, to the readers on a more philosophical and intellectual level, of course, as I just said earlier before beginning this lecture. The theme often involves the idea that reality is subjective and varies from person to person. So, what and how you define reality? If you are going to explore nature of reality, so how you're going to define it from the illusion and from the reality perspective, and what is reality, because reality is different from everyone for everyone, because the interpretation, now we're coming back to the meaning, that when we are discussing about nature of reality as a theme, so the meaning is the interpretation of those themes, so how it's interpreted, right? And that is subjective. Different characters may interpret events in distinct ways, emphasizing the subjective nature of truth and reality. Authors may use the theme of the nature of reality to pose metaphysical questions about the essence of existence. Concepts such as existential uncertainty are explored in this context. Now, one more interesting thing to understand or think about is when we are talking about nature of reality to explore, examine, analyze as a theme, and we interpreted the versions of this theme as reality versus an illusion. So, we need to analyze it also, that how we construct reality. So if we construct reality based on the depiction of reality, based on societal norms, expectations, beliefs, or cultural influences, because beliefs, cultural influences, or the norms may differ. So if they can differ, so what is the authenticity of the experiences? And what are the challenges here to understand the interpretation of the meaning of it? And if we understand or interpret it as well, so are they well established or structured norms? So where is the authenticity? Because, you know, the interpretation will differ of nature of reality if we construct reality and we start differentiating reality. So, for example, if you, I mean, I've read George Orwell's 1984 when I was doing my majors in English literature, and I read it many times, and it's a quite a dystopian work, uh, defined or um, interpreted by literarians, because it talks about the abuse and manipulation of truth and manipulation by those who are in power. So it's it talks about the political political control of power and abuse of power by the people who are sitting in those positions. And it gives a view where the reader does not have a hope of, to breathe in a way where the dangers of unchecked government power signals a warning, right? Orwell also introduces the concept of Big Brother is watching you, illustrating the, omnipresence of surveillance, that you're always on the watch by the people in the power, and you are always, the central point of attention, and how they can manipulate the truth. So it's a dystopian theme. It's a dystopian novel, interpreted by the people who examined the work. So the party uses technology in the novel, uses technology and propaganda to monitor and manipulate citizens, eliminating any essence of privacy for them as well. If you read George Orwell's 1984, so the novel introduces the idea of newspeak, a language designed to eliminate unorthodox thoughts. The Ministry of Truth constantly revises historical records to align with the party's current narrative, demonstrating the power of controlling and information and circulation of information. So uh, it's complete view or explanation of um, power abuse by the people sitting in the position of power. So, reality versus illusion. How will you differentiate it here? So, how do you construct the reality here, right? And it is going to be interpreted in various different ways. And there may be a perspective and a perspective shift with relevance to it. But what the author leaves the reader to question about in 1984 is whether you should you want basically to ask certain questions, that what is the true nature of reality, what is the true nature of reality, And if we relate it with the novel, consider the manipulation of truth and the concept of doublethink. How does the party control and distort reality, and what impact does this have on individuals? So, how does the novel explore the relationship between power and language? Right? Explore the significance of newspeak and the rewriting of history by the Ministry of Truth. So, how does language shape the character's understanding of the world? In what ways does the concept of surveillance in 1984 parallel or differ from modern concerns about privacy and government surveillance? Reflect on the novel's portrayal of a surveillance state and its implications for individual freedom. And what role does individualism play in the face of collectivist society? Consider Winston Smith's rebellion against the party's conformity. How does the novel depict the struggle for individual identity in a society that demands absolute loyalty? And what is the significance of the novel's ending? Without giving any spoilers, consider how the conclusion of 1984 impacts the overall message of the novel. Does it leave room for hope, or does it reinforce a sense of hopelessness? Frankly speaking, when I read it, and some of the pages really put me in tears when I read it. But certainly, when you read such a dystopian piece of work, and then you try to understand on a lighter side the construct of reality based on perceptions, based on societal norms, or based on the influences around you, right? So, this is just an example to make you understand about the theme and meaning. So, and how the theme of a piece of literary work connects you to question, to develop questions, and how it leaves questions behind to explore for answers and foundations for answers to build on, and how it scratches your curiosity or your intellectual capacity as a whole. So, if you talk about the classification of themes, they can be classified into many different genres like political, cultural, social, morality, existential, psychological, environmental, love and relationship, self discovery, identity, conflict and struggle, good versus evil, as I spoke earlier, power and ambition. I just spoke about power abuse. So, power and ambition, like it investigates the pursuit of power, its consequences and ethical implications. Society and class also explore societal structures, inequalities, and their impacts on the characters. So this is how the piece of literature or literary work revolves around those themes, and it can be classified into various. It can be of nature and the environment, and examines the relationship between characters and their surroundings. So this is how the theme is classified. Now, why themes are important, as I describe them as they are the central idea, or they are the concept on which the literary work is based on, but why they are significant in a piece of work? What's their importance? What's their role? So, the major importance, or I would say the major role or significance of a piece of or sorry of a theme in the piece of work, the number one is reader engagement. So it engages and provoke thought and discussion on intellectual level and emotional level. It also helps in character development, right? Contributes to the growth and transformation of character and how they revolve around the theme and the story and their motivations and shaping their arcs. Uh, of course, the importance is for the artistic unity as well. For example, they helps us identify different elements of a story and how they are meaningful work of art. So artistic unity defines that how meaningful they are, right? The critical analysis. So foundation for any kind of a literary analysis. So scholars and readers um, goes deeper into the significance and interpretation of work, the importance of that work, right? Uh, of course, it has a universal relevance also that themes often address fundamental human experiences, making literature relatable across cultures and time periods, be it poetry or drama or a novel or any piece of literature or any piece of literary work, which is, of course, a fusion, right? Because it's all based on philosophy also. So whether it's about emotion, whether it's about um, the existence of the nature of emotion. So emotion is an expression, but what is the nature of that emotion? So there's a difference here. If I would also mark this point here that emotion can be classified into two: the expression, if you could see the expression, and nature. So expression and nature differs. Emotion, as per me, it's comprised of expression and nature. So the nature of that emotion is also the significance of the theme of that literary work. And expression is the overall work, which is the literary work, is the expression, and the nature is the importance of that work. I hope this clarifies. So that's how we learn about the importance, because as just I have explained in multiple points here, themes enhance the overall impact and significance of literature by weaving together these various elements to convey profound messages and insights. So I've discussed various different parameters of literary themes, about the theme, the definition of theme, and how theme and meaning are differentiated. I've given example of 1984 as well. So some of the common literary themes that authors or writers choose to write on to, I'm going to discuss each one of them in detail. And as there are any number, there are many, many themes you can write or an author choose to write on to. But some of the common ones, and how can we examine those, how can we interpret those, and how can we analyze those, that's what I'm going to discuss in the next few slides here. And how can we interpret from my perspective? Your perspective may differ. So that's how, what's the genuinity of the experience? So that's a question to think on, to ponder on for you, right? So let's understand. So if I ask a question that define love and sacrifice, how would you define? What are the first most prevalent thoughts come in your mind, or the expression of love? How do you define the nature of love? Some may think that love can be defined a parental love, that parents love us. Some may define the sacrifice of parents with love. Some may, in their romantic experiences, or the love for nature, love for God. So if I ask a question that collectively, whether It's love of parents, whether it's love for God, whether it's love for nature, whether it's love for children, whether it's love for work, whether it's love for self. What's the nature of love? What is the nature? How do you define the nature of love? So, love is an expression, and you communicate it through words, through gestures. But what is the nature of love? So, if I define the nature of love, it's when you hold the values of gratitude, when you hold the values of mutual respect, and when you hold the values of independence. So, if the nature of love is independent, has gratitude, and able to find and explore the relationship on its own with respect, it's love. So, whether it's a love for parent to a child to a parent, whether it's love for your nature, whether it's love of God, whether it's self love, if there is no independence, if there is no um, boundaries of respect and compassion, empathy, it is not love. Now, your perspective, this is as far as my experience is concerned of love. And based on that experience, I have felt this emotion of love. And this is how I see the nature of love. How you see the nature of love may differ, or it's not necessary that you relate to the definition of my nature of love as I see. Your interpretation may differ from me. That's what the meaning of the theme of love and sacrifice. Sacrifice, some may define that sometimes if you see that love is defined as sacrifice. But love and sacrifice is different. Love is fundamental. Why love is fundamental is because it's the principle of anything that you do in your life, whether in your professional or personal sphere of life, whether it's passion or whether it's um, a sacrifice. On the other hand, sacrifice can be independent of love also, because sacrifice can be based on empathy or compassion, and love is fundamental. So, for example, I would say how I am differentiating here between sacrifice and love, and how sacrifice is independent of love. Let's understand with this example. A sacrifice can be made on the grounds of morality or personal choices of principles or um, character or motivation. And sometimes it can be conditional sacrifice also. People may sacrifice without love being the primary emotion involved. For instance, sacrifices made for professional goals, societal expectations, or personal growth. So it might lack a direct association with love. And love can exist without requiring significant sacrifices, and sacrifices can occur without foundation in love. But love is principle, and people make sacrifices in love too. But sacrifice is independent of love. I hope I'm able to clear what I'm trying to say here. Now, let's understand the theme of power in literature, philosophy, and even psychology. Power can be classified into social, personal, psychological, or political ways, and it has different hierarchies also, societal structures that impact the power dynamics of the individual and communities. Literature often explores into the pursuit of power, showcasing how ambitious individuals may succumb to corruption or ethical dilemmas in their quest for dominance. For example, I've given the example of 1984, which explains the abuse of power. But on the other hand, uh, power is also authority, and authority brings justice. If if power is utilized in a manner where it's subjected to serve, so it can be utilized for justice, for any kind of wrongdoings or anything which impacts the human life in a wrong way, disturbs the human life or humanity as a whole. So there are distinctions and phases. On a positive note, literature can also emphasize the empowerment of individuals, showcasing personal growth, resilience, and the ability to overcome oppressive forces. That is also power, or moral power. Beyond physical or political power, themes can explore the moral dimensions of power, highlighting characters who wield influence through virtue, wisdom, or moral authority. Narratives often unfold through power struggles, revealing the complexities of characters vying for control, whether in personal relationships or broader societal context. Some stories explore the loss of power and the subsequent journey toward redemption, emphasizing themes of humility, self discovery, and personal transformation. So, power as a theme in literature allows authors to dissect the intricacies of human nature, societal structure, and the consequences of both positive and negative of the pursuit and wielding of power. Now, self discovery is a very common theme, and I'm sure you're able to relate it with yourself in general life also, and day to day life and day to day situation also, where you identify the personal growth and you realize about your positives and negatives, and find yourself and you find the motivations inside of you, and you tries to build yourself up, and that shows the curve upwards and develops you as an individual, and that's the theme which reflects around the characters and the plot of a literary piece of work, where it can be motivating, it can be introspective and transformative, bringing self awareness, building confidence. So that's what the theme of self discovery. Now, there's one more interesting theme I would like to discuss here is weakness, strength, and change. Now, when you talk to me about weak and strong, in society realm, in relationship, or in general, the concept of weak and strong is quite different for me. I mean, what the concept the society views of the weak and strong, or the strength and weakness. I view that there are no weaks and strongs in the society. if someone tries to create a weak, so they are trying to create power or authority over them, or there is a power dynamic in between. Therefore, even a person in that dynamic who is at the weaker side is not the weak, rather, utilizing the position of weakness as a strength to overcome the situation and dominate the other is the strength for the weak to fight with the powerful in that dynamic. So therefore they both are on the equal ends. So neither no one is weak and no one is strong in that relationship. Now you may say that how I'm talking about this, that people who might be in a condition where they have limited resources, or people who have much greater resources in comparison, they may be more powerful, and people with lesser resources are not that powerful. That's not true. This is not true, because weakness or strength is not comparable with the number of resources a person may, or an individual may have. Rather, it's how they interpret themselves as an individual in a particular society. And if they consider themselves as weak, they are giving strength to others to appear strong, because they are themselves considering themselves weak. So if you view yourself as weak, you will be weak. And if you view yourself as powerful, you will be powerful. And sometimes those who create the image of being in a position of power or strong, so they need to create a counter image of somebody who is weak, so in comparison they can appear strong. So that's my interpretation of weak and strong. And with the respective theme of weakness, strength, and changes, it may explore in different directions. Now, if you talk about physical strength and emotional strength, so if we compare a man and a woman, so a woman is more emotionally strong and a man is more physically strong. So how will you compare the weak and strong here? How will you see that who is more strong and who is more weak? So there is no certain weak and strong that exist. It's just the perception of the mind, and it's just an illusion of the mind that somebody is weak and somebody is wrong. In my definition, your interpretation and your perception may differ. Please let me know in the comment section, what do you think about the weak and the strong and the strength and change about it? Certainly, how we view ourselves in terms of weakness and strength and power and strong and weak, etc. We are like that. So if you believe you are oppressed, you are oppressed. If you believe you are uh, having the strength to address the challenges, you are powerful in that position. So this question that person who is at the weaker side is weak in terms of uh, justice and injustice, so there is a flaw here. And the person who is at the side which may um, reflect a powerful position is having more strength uh, because of more resources, because of the perception of strength. So that's not true. So you may differ, your thinking, your thought process may differ. What I interpret weak and strong and weakness and strength as. So, but definitely the theme of weakness and strength questions people's perceptions and self image, and also builds confidence and helps them identify the gaps where they're not able to connect with growth. So certain themes not only helps us introspect but builds our resilience and emotional intelligence as well, to think critically and analyze the the experiences of the authors or and as readers also to relate with experiences in our life. So we also understand various different aspects about our own self and nature, and truth about our own self as well. And then we have justice and belief. So justice is a theme which relates to the human personality, the characteristics of that personality, and traits of the personality. As I've just explained, that power in terms of authority, which can be utilized to serve, can bring justice, and power abuse can bring injustice in the society. So, how the theme of justice relates to the story and the characters and their story and their the plot of that story, and brings the readers to the conclusion of understanding justice in terms of human life, in terms of the rights and the wrongs, in terms of morality, the moral obligations and moral actions, and building up empathy in the society as a whole. And whereas belief is concerned, is of course, uh, belief is not necessarily that belief is always a religious belief. So belief is independent of faith, but certainly belief is a a system of principles, a system of ideas, a system of followings that certainly people follow irrespective of cultural beliefs, or they can be cultural beliefs. So it's not necessary, it can be political belief, ideological belief, cultural belief, self belief, right? So the concept or idea of belief reflects on the moral rightness of the human character, the traits of the personality of the humans, and the interpretation of the actions and the consequences of experiences of humans, right? So I hope, in short and brief, I brought many themes all together. Uh, each and every theme is quite different and from one another. They are quite in depth. If you study each theme in deep, and you read authors and writers, you will explore more about certain themes, and you understand how they are interconnected with our emotions and how they build us up and the society as a whole, and they leave us with a moral obligation, also uh, building our questioning power for self and others, to understand that the social structure is formed on the basis of these themes, because these themes are experiences of people, and they are exploring these experiences with discussions and conversations through literature, philosophy, or psychology. Thank you so much, viewers and listeners, for your patience, and I hope you enjoyed this session and lecture. Please share your feedback and do let me know on what other topics you want me to create videos on. I have chosen this topic based on a suggestion I have received through an email by a viewer for literary themes, and I hope this is quite beneficial for you. And do connect with me for any more queries or um, topics you want me to upload videos on. Thank you so much and have a great day.